Hey everybody, my name is Jeff King. I'm one of the sales leaders here at InflowCX. And today we're going to be reviewing Genesys admin training, holiday scheduling and routing. Very appropriate for this time of year. Just noticed yesterday that we have less than 50 business days left for this quarter and this year. So this is coming at a good time. Just a note, we have a couple upcoming webinars. October 17th, we're going to be discussing Beyond the Metrics, strategies to reverse CX decline and build brand loyalty. On October 24th, we're going to be discussing integrating Salesforce with Genesys Cloud for enhanced CX. Today, we're going to talk just a little bit about Inflow, and then we're going to get into the meat of it, which is our holiday scheduling and routing, and some of the prerequisites. We'll go through a live demo. We'll have some time for customer Q&A, and we'll also have a contact slide at the end for everybody. For those of you that aren't familiar with Inflow is a company that does quite a few things for customers, but we're really known for helping our customers evaluate, deploy, and optimize their engagement to technology. Used to be just contact center. We've incorporated AI, we've incorporated UCaaS, and we're doing a lot of different things to meet our customers' needs from an engagement technology standpoint. For us, our customer breadth goes not only globally, but also in several different sectors, from small business to mid-market to our enterprise customers, tech, retail, hospitality, real estate, healthcare, and finance. We've had the opportunity to work with and help several different divisions of these companies, along with others that have seen not just the evaluation piece, but also us sitting beside these customers and helping them evaluate all of these different technologies. To do that, though, we've got to have partnerships with the leading technology partners in our space. For us, that encompasses a lot of different things, from CCaaS, which is our contact center as a service, UCaaS, which is our unified communications as a service, and then all the CX ecosystems that play within those varieties. For us, we get to help our customers evaluate, deploy, and optimize these. So from an implementation standpoint, that's great, but we want to make sure that they're taken care of after the implementation for moves, adds, and changes, and all of those good things that come after. We've seen customers start out very small and grow into, now with the AI revolution the way it is, customers are coming to us and just asking, what do I need to know about AI? And we have to understand and evaluate their business first to make sure we get them in the right realm, and then provide options for them to go look at, demo, and evaluate. So that's really our role in this scenario today. Really want to turn it over to Richard Dixon. He's our expert here at Inflow, and talk about our Genesys admin training and holiday scheduling. Richard, take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to go over the holiday scheduling. We're just going to go with some brief prerequisites here. So it jumped to, I apologize. This is the prerequisites for being able to do it within the scheduling. So you need to have Architect Flow Add, Architect Flow Edit, and Architect Flow View to be able to do that. And for being able to create an operating schedule, which is what we're going to do first, you're going to need routing, schedule, and then you'll need the ability to add, edit, or view or delete permissions based upon what you really need. And in some cases, if you want to have a supervisor to be able to go in and update schedules, you can have that and not allow them to delete. So you can just give them the edit permission in this case, or have them to be able to view. So we're going to jump over to a live demo. Give me a moment as I get switched over to my screen here. All right, so we're going to go into admin, and then we're going to go into routing schedules. From here, you have two options. You have schedule groups and schedules. First thing what we'll do is we'll build a individual schedule. So in this case, let's go for the upcoming holiday, which is going to be Thanksgiving. You can also assign it to what division that they'll have access to. In this case, we only have home in here. We want to do, when is this happening? Do we want it to be a reoccurring? Is it an all day thing? So the next one is going to be the November 28th. So we go to the 28th. In this case, it's going to be an all day thing for us. Is it going to occur for multiple days? Well, no. How often? Is going to be a one-time event, yearly, monthly. We'll do yearly in this case. So when's it going to start? We want to know on which day. So it's always going to be the Thursday. How often is it going to, when is it going to stop repeating? We'll do never in this case. So you can see the next one will be Friday, October 28th, 2025, 26, 27, all of that. So we create. But we're also going to have the following Friday off. So we're going to add that as well. Go through the same process again. Go to November 29th, all day. And this is going to be a yearly occurrence as well. Create an ad. So now we have two separate schedules on here. And how are we going to get those to join up? Because we want to set a holiday schedule in this case. We'll do group schedule. So now that we're in groups, which is the new tab over here, click add. And in this case, we're going to call it Thanksgiving holiday. We're going to designate a time zone. So it's going to try to default to what you currently are. But if it's going to be a different one, you do have options here. From there, we're going to go to schedules. So in this case, we're going to go to holiday schedule and add the two that we just did. It's going to be Friday and the one after. And then if we go to calendar here, we can take a look at the view to see what's actively going on. Since we are not there yet, let's jump a little bit. We'll go to month, go to October. You can see that it's here for both days. If I go into week and jump to that particular week, you can see that these days are blocked out on the calendar. So this is a good, easy way to reference what's actually in play. So if for some reason you're having a issue after a holiday or before a holiday of something's out of whack as far as the scheduling goes, calls aren't routing where you expect them to go, and they're only hitting the holiday or after hours, this is a good place to start looking is within the schedules. And then you go into the calendar portion of it, and it will show you exactly what's going on. So in this case, we're going to create. We have to go back to schedules. We have to add an open schedule. We're open 24/7. So let me add that. And you can see on the calendar when it's open, when it's closed. So now we've created the schedule. What do we do with the schedule after that? We're going to have to go into call routing. This is going to be the first place that you can adjust where calls go. In this case, you'll notice none of these have schedules. A lot of times you'll see that because we apply the schedule, and most of the time it's going to be applied within the flow. When you update a schedule, it'll automatically update within the flow, so you won't have to republish it. So that is a convenience because it's always going to reference that schedule. It's always looking for that particular schedule, as opposed to something you'll have to constantly update within the flow. So in this case, we'll do a webinar test, which should be on here, or was yesterday. I'll add it to my test route here. So I'll go to RD testing. This is what it's going to look like for you as far as call routing. So anytime somebody dials this number, it'll come in. And right now, is the call route always open? Or based on the schedule group? If I do schedule group, I'll have to choose the schedule, which I had in here, which is Thanksgiving holiday. During opening hours, we want it to go a certain particular location. So right now I have it to a data table testing, and we need to designate a closed section here for where I want it to go during the closed hours. And then during holiday, do I want to use the call flow for closed, or do I want to have it go to a specific holiday flow that I've added in here? So that's your basic options in this case. You can also go in and bypass any holiday routing. So if you have an issue that you can't find out, You can also click here to tell it to bypass that as well. That's another emergent kind of situation if it is applied in the call routing portion. Since we don't typically go this direction, but that is the most basic way of routing calls, we'll jump into Architect and I'll show you how to add that. There's a couple different places that you can add schedules within Architect. There's three major ones. The first one is going to be under the inbound call flow. The second one will be the NQ call flow. And the third one is where you can add it to a common module, which we've covered in the past. And that will allow you to have some different views and place it in multiple things and rely on one particular common module. So you don't have to completely build the schedule out each time. So in this case, we're going to go to Architect. We'll jump into a basic flow here. I've already got a little bit built out, but we're going to go from scratch. So typically when you have a flow, we'll have something very simple. If we want it simple, we'll just do a transfer to ACD. So we'll have it transfer to a queue. And we'll do RD testing 1. Now, right now, if I don't have a schedule in the call routing portion of it, it will always transfer 24/7. In this case, I want to have that schedule in place that we were talking about earlier. So I am going to add a schedule here, go into Toolbox. We'll go into Decision or Logic here, and then we'll do Evaluate Schedule or Evaluate Schedule Group. Now, if I wanted to only evaluate a particular schedule, just a singular one, I will do Schedule or Schedule Group. That would we just built out. It'll give you options for open, where you want it to go, for close, what do you want it to do, holiday, and emergency based upon the schedule group. So in this case, we'll go down to Thanksgiving holiday, which is what we just created. And in this case, we want it during open hours, we want it to transfer to ACD. During closed, we're going to have it transfer to voicemail. And for voicemail, you have the option of user or group or queue. So in this case, we're going to keep it as queue. And then we're going to do RD testing and have it go there. For holiday, we'll have it go to a group. Transfer to voicemail. We'll use group it in this case. We'll do CS group. And for emergency, during emergency times, we're going to have it actually transfer to voicemail as well. And in this case, we're going to go to queue, voicemail, and we've specified that. So this is the basic routing in this case, as far as setting up a holiday schedule. I'm trying to make it so you guys can see it a little bit bigger here. Let me zoom out just a tiny bit. So when you're just doing a holiday group, it's going to take those predefined definitions of what we consider a holiday, what we consider to open hours, so you can have multiple schedules within one. That way it can make the decisions as you move along. Now, if you just want to evaluate a single schedule, it's going to be very similar. We're going to do the same thing. It's going to be a logic. And this time we're going to go to evaluate schedule as opposed to schedule group. In this case, we are going to do the same thing. We'll do Friday after Thanksgiving in this case. However, you notice there is a time zone requirement. So you will have to specify what time zone that you want this particular schedule to be evaluated in. So that is a difference between the two. We'll go with Indianapolis this time, and then it gives it the ability to move on from there. Is the schedule active or inactive? That's what it's looking for. So that's making that decision very easily. Is it active? Is it not active? If it's active, do this. If it's not, do that, as opposed to, in this case, where it's going to evaluate, are you open? Are you closed? Are you in a holiday? Or are you in an emergency setting? So that's the difference between those two. Now, here's a small scenario, and this does happen on occasion. If I have gotten through and I'm in your IVR and I've met through your open hours. So let's say you're 8 to 5. I got in at 4:59 and I've gotten through. At this point, I am still going to get transferred to your queue because I've made it past that check. The problem is if everybody has gone home at that time and they're going to be sitting in the queue unless you have a couple different options in there. One is having another schedule check and telling it what to do at that point, or you have it telling it to go to voicemail after so many rings. But in this case, I would actually still make it to the queue, even though after, let's say it takes a minute and a half to get through my IVR to make all those choices, but I made it through that first breach, which is this first check. I've checked. We'll have a secondary check, and this is what we're going to do next. In this case, we're going to save. We're going to go back into Architect. We're going to go here. Instead of inbound call flow, we are going to do an NQ call. We'll create a new one. Do webinar. So this is after it's been presented to the queue. It's just going to play hold music. This is standard what it's going to be. However, we want to prevent calls from just sitting and sitting and sitting. So we're going to add that schedule check here as well. So you go into logic, you'll make that decision. We'll do evaluate the schedule group. We'll do the same schedule group. It's very, very similar to the same thing. So we'll do the Thanksgiving holiday. And if it's open, we'll have it continue on. If it's closed in this case, we'll tell it to transfer to voicemail. And when we go to queue this time, you'll notice that I don't have to specify a queue because it is going to use whatever particular queue that it was transferred into. So if you have a universal in-queue flow, so I'm using this queue or this in-queue flow for multiple different queues, it will go in and leave a voicemail for that particular queue that was transferred into. So that's the benefit of this is I can have that go to those different directions there. And the last and the third option here is we'll go into, just gotta change this for this one. We'll go into common modules, which we covered last session. This one here, which I've already pre-built out. You want to make sure when you're building this out that you specify whether it's going to be an inbound flow or an NQ flow, because based upon which ones you have access to for common module, it will limit, again, what we discussed in the previous webinar, that it will limit you to the ability to share only modules that are available to both. So if I did something like voicemail and, or sorry, I did a NQ voice and an NQ email, only the common modules that are between those two would be allowed in there. So in this case, I can put a schedule check, and what we have it going to is during open hours, no matter what, it's always going to apply and continue on with it. So it just does a quick check. It's open, it'll continue and exit right back out. If there is an issue, it'll go to webinar group 1 during close and webinar group 2 for voicemail, and then during an emergency, it's going to transfer to that group. So I can take this common module and I can place it instead of having to create a schedule group and apply those to each one like we did in that very first initial NQ flow. I can take this common module and now I can apply it to any future flows that I build out if I want it to behave the same way in each and every time. So if I always want anytime that it's closed to go to this particular voicemail, I can set it up that way. That's the benefit of having that common module is it's a universal thing that we can use in each one of those groups. That way I don't have to constantly build this out each time. It's kind of like a copy and paste. I can just take this module that I've pre-built out and set it directly inside there. Is there any questions about setting up a schedule and how to edit it or go back and make changes or view?
Richard, there was one question. Can we set it to like the fourth Thursday of every month?
Yes, that is actually possible. So let's go back into schedules here. And there is a large variety as far as scheduling goes. So let's go into schedules, add a new one. So in this case, we're going to call it tests. So when does it occur? The first time. So let's say we want it to be, it spans multiple days, so we can tell it to be multiple days here. Is it a one-time event? It's going to be, let's say, monthly. On what day? And you can specify what particular day of the week. So we only want it to happen on every Thursday of the month. In this case, we can tell it to only be every Thursday of the month, or like you were asking, every Thursday, or tell it to be, every fourth Thursday in that case.
Right.
So we could do every second, third, fourth, or last in this case. So there is a lot of options in here of what you want. So like you said, fourth Thursday of the month, you can do that, and it's automatically checking that. So right now it's doing October 24th, November 28th, and you can go from there. Hopefully
Got
that answered your question. If you have more, and you can also do that same metric within yearly, fourth Thursday of a particular time. So in this case, it's going to be every fourth Thursday for October.
No, that's a good one. A lot of the times, the insurance agencies, especially the smaller satellite offices, will be closed, every fourth Thursday for the month for updated training and research. Also, they'll grab 30 minutes a day for lunch, and to be able to pre-schedule these out makes a big difference for them for sure.
It does. And here's the nice thing too with this. I can have somebody else who may not be super qualified to go in and make flow changes. So we wouldn't want this individual to have access to make edits within the flow, but we do want them to be able to make edits within the schedule. So something came up and we want to make a change, because we already have that applied within the flow. We have that schedule group applied within the flow. They can come into the operating schedules, and we'll go back into this, go into whatever particular schedule it is, or if they need to add a new one, so an ad hoc one, they can either search by name and make an adjustment. So for this one, we'll go back to, so Friday after Thanksgiving. If I need to modify it and go, oh, we originally thought it was going to be all day, we need to make an adjustment, I can go in here, take that off, say it's 9 to 5 that we're going to have it. And once I hit save here, it will always apply to the group that it is in. So it's now immediately updated. So when those calls start coming through the flow, it's going to check the group, and it's going to check this particular schedule to make sure that it's matching. So if we go back over to schedule groups, we'll go here and we look at the calendar. You can see that with that change, it's no longer all day, and it's open, and it automatically updates it over here. I don't have to make any changes into the schedule group once I start modifying the schedules that are within inside there. And you can always verify that it looks correct by going into the calendar view and seeing this lovely. I mean, I'm so glad that they finally added this. It was a long wanting ask to have a visual representation of when it is open and it closed.
No, that's perfect. Thank you so much.
All right. Any further questions from anyone? All right. Stop my share.
Just a quick reminder, if you would like to ask a question, please do so in the chat and we will get it addressed.
And if you can't think of one right now, if you call that number or reach out via that contact email, we'll be able to answer your questions. There's a lot of us able here over here to be able to answer.
Richard, at this time, I don't see any questions in the chat, and the one that I had has been answered. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. Again, we have a couple more webinars scheduled for the remainder of this month, and we'll have those links and sent out not too shortly. Thank you so much. Have a great day.